looked forward to. So that cricket craze continued. And actually, it was during my MBA at ISB that I got hooked on to mobile gaming. So in MBA, the sessions are very hectic. The schedule itself is very hectic, right? So you don't get a lot of time to do leisure activities for an hour or two. Uh, and that's when, I started playing these mobile games, and that 5-10 minutes of quick break
Hmm.
kind of did wonders, right? It was like just you could break out and have that quick dose of entertainment and then get back to what you were doing. So that's how I started playing games, and this is back in 2015. Then post my MBA, I started working with Amazon.
Hmm.
And while I was working, like my habit continued. So, I would still play in between like once the meetings are over and you have like a quick break, I would still play. And interestingly, I saw a lot of people around me playing as well. And I remember Clash of Clans was a big rage back then. So
Hmm.
even my managers or people who were reporting to me, I could see that, a lot of people of different age groups were actually engaging with mobile games. And
Hmm.
that kind of seemed like a next wave that of entertainment that could hit, because if you talk about a mobile game, mobile device, everybody has it,
Hmm.
right? And people are looking for entertainment, people want that quick entertainment.
Hmm.
So that's how, it felt that okay, yes, something big, e-commerce, fine, done and dusted. But there is something more coming up. And I knew my co-founder Kashyap from VIT. So both of us had done engineering together at VIT, and we had worked for the largest student chapter. So I knew him and we had worked together. So we discussed that, how would it be to create a game for cricket where you can capture millions of users who can actively engage with the sport. In cricket, you're just a passive spectator, right? You're watching Dhoni play or Kohli play. What
Hmm.
if the same strategy, the same control can be given to the cricket fans, and we can build like a global brand as big as FIFA is for football, right? The moment you say football, that comes to your mind. And we felt that, that spot was vacant in the market. And that's how I quit Amazon. And then Kashyap and we teamed up together and we started Hitwicket as a website back in 2015.
Okay. So outside of this, like I was saying, you already have what, like 3 million players already on the platform. Why
Right,
have you only focused on one game instead of having like multiple different spin-offs or something?
right. Got it. Yeah. So, like I said, our idea from the very start, our philosophy from the very start was to make a game that is a world beater, right? And in the market also, that is the spot that we wanted to occupy, right? That you make something which is so world class that everybody across the globe likes it. Even when we talk about cricket, there's a massive fan following in Australia, UK, and now even countries like America
Hmm.
and Europe are entering into this. And if you have to make a world class game, then it's about focus, right?
Hmm.
Focus on quality, focus on understanding user behavior. We were thinking about in-app purchases back then in 2015, where we were like, okay, we are not going to have any ads into the game,
Hmm.
because Clash of Clans was an inspiration for us.
Hmm.
That the game is so much fun that people spend, right? Nobody compels them. It's not like you're throwing some ad and saying that, okay, dude, I want you to see it, right? It's out of pure joy that people spend on games. And
Okay.
that is how it is for entertainment, right? Movies may nobody forces you that you got to pay and watch this movie, right?
Yeah.
People want to watch, and that's the reason they pay for movies.
Okay. So that then brings me like I have say I make my own game. I know it's like a world class product.
Hmm.
I share it across with my buddies. They are also like, yeah, you need to go full throttle with it and release it. I release it on the Play Store. I get 100, 500 downloads or something.
Hmm.
Those are all of those are also my friends only who have said,
Hmm.
"Yeah, please play my game, etc." How do I
Hmm.
actually grow? One. Second, how important is data tracking in this entire landscape or something? How do I know where the particular user is and what my target audience is and how I can target them to the best of my ability?
Got it. Right. So when it comes to games also, I think there are two elements. I mean, there are obviously multiple elements to it, but I think in the initial stages, there are two parts to it. One is the fun part,
Hmm.
right? Where somebody can play the game, but the number will not tell you whether the experience itself was fun or not.
Hmm.
That's a bit of a qualitative
Hmm.
experience, right? Where if you share it with your friends or your peer group, you try to get that qualitative feedback that is something essentially fun or not, right? Because that's the reason somebody will play a game. And when
Hmm.
you talk about a mobile game, call it the good thing or the bad thing, it's like from day one, you're competing with Clash of Clan or PUBG, the best games in Play Store, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Whereas if you talk about food, you're choosing that, okay, should I go to Ori's or should I go to Prost or what? Everything that is available to you in Hyderabad, you're thinking about that. But when it comes to games, you actually have competition from the best games, right? That is why a lot of focus on the fun part is in the initial stage where nothing works if the game is not fun.
Nice.
And the second part about analytics, yes, it is very important because, see, it's like when you start collecting data, also, it's not like data will make sense to you from first day, or the numbers that you see will be phenomenal,
Hmm.
right? It'll be very rare until and unless you're a supercell and you're planning to launch your fifth game or sixth game where you already know that the game has been in beta for a while and it has had certain metrics. But data tracking, what it does you is it starts giving you the comfort, it starts telling you what is the actual picture,
Hmm.
right? So, for example, I can tell you, yeah, the game was fun, right? But I never came back and logged into the game the next day. So, my feedback is incomplete. I just told you the game was good, but something was missing because of which I did not play the game on the second day or the seventh day or the 30th day. That is
Hmm.
where your analytics start giving you that picture,
Hmm.
right? That what am I missing in the game, right? Sometimes we know that, even PNs have a big impact in your retention numbers, right? A lot of people have the app installed, and generally people don't uninstall so much now that, the devices have larger RAM and, you can have multiple apps. But sometimes people just forget, right?
Hmm.
So your PNs, I mean, this is a very small example, but it's like when you start seeing that, okay, the user was active for 7 days, but my 7 to 30 may people are not coming back. So
Hmm.
maybe my late game experience is not good, right? I'm missing something there. So that's where you may not start making data driven decisions from the very go, because again, it's a bit of a creative field, right?
Yep.
It's not that, okay, 2 plus 2 4 sort of a thing I'll put together and I'll get it, but it'll start uh, it'll get you into the groove where you will know that, okay, this is happening to my game, people are spending 15 minutes or people are logging in thrice a day,
Hmm.
right? Or people, they are churning after 15 days, after 30 days. So tracking of these metrics, right? It's extremely, I would say it's a central piece of building a large scalable game, right?
Got-
Because you're not talking about a small cohort. And again, this is the data that is going to help you in marketing the game as well,
Hmm. So
right?
essentially, over here, you mentioned one interesting thing, right? Supercell, for example, their games are in beta for like months on end, right?
Yeah.
From a product perspective, as I come from a tech background, I can understand, okay, there might be bugs, there might be some certain things I want to see whether they are working fine or not. But from a marketing perspective, how does a beta help you get the right audience onto your platform as well?
Got it. So beta may first is you get those retention numbers
Hmm.
and you get monetization numbers as well.
Hmm.
So for example, you let's say you are seeing a D30 of 10%,
Hmm.
right? And you're seeing a D90 of 5%.
Okay.
So you know that, okay, in my game, whatever I'm retaining till 30 days, half of them are retained till 90 days,
Hmm.
right? So you get these metrics. And then you also get the monetization metrics. So for example, you know that, okay, out of 100 installs, let's say 2% of the users are converting into paying users.
Hmm.
right? And each of the paying user, let's say on an average, is spending 100 rupees, right? So you're essentially getting 200 rupees from two people, right? So for 100 installs, gave you 200 rupees. So you know that I can spend up to 2 rupees to acquire each user, because I know that these, like per user, the revenue per user is 2 rupees. So I can spend up to 2 rupees to acquire a user.
Okay, so
Right.
acquiring a user in this context, how do I simply measure the cost uh, to acquire one person, and what are the different mediums by which one can acquire new users?
Right. So when you say the customer acquisition cost, right? So right now you have these ad tools. So for example, you're running ads on Facebook. Right? So Facebook will have its own, like it shows you the analytics part where it says that, let's say you spend 1,000 rupees and for 1,000 rupees you got 100 installs. So you will know this, right? So you can say that, okay, I got each user for 10 rupees. Right? So this is how you measure that I spent 1,000 rupees, I got 100 installs. That means my customer acquisition cost was 10 rupees on Facebook. Right? Now the same thing can happen on Google. Let's say Google may, you spent 1,000 rupees, but instead of getting 100 installs, you got 200 installs. Right? So over there, your acquisition cost was 5 rupees. Right? And then on a larger schema of things, you can say that I got 1,000 users from Facebook, but I got 1,000 users organically. Right? So I spent only 1,000 rupees on Facebook, but for organic users, I did not spend anything at all. Right? So to acquire 2,000 users, I've only spent 1,000 rupees. I've not spent on organic users, right? So then you start measuring that ratio also, that whatever downloads you're getting, what is the percentage of organic installs and what is the percentage of inorganic installs. So over time, the organic installs start taking over. So initially, whenever even Supercell for that matter, or any studio, when they launch a game, they go ahead with a big marketing push. That way, they can get to that velocity where they can acquire a large volume of users.
Got
and
it.
the beauty is that even if these users don't spend, right, they have still given you a lot of information about the user behavior and the user interaction. That, you know, how is the game actually like on a large sample set.
Okay, so let's like all the audience that we have, all of them are mostly learning the game development side of things, right? Not the business side of things. So let's bring it back a little. Can you simply describe your job, what you do in a day, and how decisions are made based on the data that you are seeing on the screen?
Got it. All right. Yeah. So a lot of things that we focus on, right? One is that monetizing the game, right? Where monetizing is more like after engagement, right? First, you know, the game should be engaging. People should like playing it, right? Then you can build monetization around it, right? So the team is constantly working to see, you know, what can be introduced. A lot of times we are very active on live ops, where, you know, there is some event or the other which is running, and it's a lot of a fresh content. So for example, you know, somebody who's like a D90 user or D120 user, he's been exposed to a lot of features of the game. So then live ops works as a way of giving some fresh content to this user, right? So then we are looking at the monetization metrics, where things like, you know, how many users are converting into paying users. Somebody asked, what is live ops?
Okay.
You want to take that, or you want me to?
You can take it up since you're already from that background. I think you would be the better person to answer.
Okay, okay, got it. So live ops is nothing, but it's like, let's say there is a live tournament going on. So it's a limited time event which is happening only in that duration. So for example, you say that, okay, I'm going to have a Independence Cup. So this Independence Cup is going to run from 10th of August to 20th August, right? And in this tournament, for people to compete, their team should be at minimum level 30, or you should be at a certain manager level. Your progress in the game should be at a certain level. And then once you are in that tournament, then everybody is competing. And there are certain rewards associated with the tournament. So whosoever wins that tournament, the winners, they get certain in-game rewards.
Yep. Just to add on that, if I were to give you like an example, right? Think seasons in Rocket League or Fortnite events that you normally see. So the Travis Scott event that goes on for like a 1 week or something. Maybe
Yeah.
I think there was another movie that was literally the trailer they released inside the game itself. Tenet, I think. Yep. Tenet was the game. So all these are basically different activities in the game to make sure that the audience stays warm and engaged.
Yeah.
That's basically what live ops is. So for
Yeah.
TI2, Temple Run 2 that I worked on, over there we used to have different maps for different events. So during Halloween, we had a different map, etc., etc.
Got it. Yeah. So as the word says live, right? It means that there is something which is active only in that duration, right? That you are playing. So yeah. So then you're looking at the monetization side of things, right? Where you're seeing how do people monetize and what is the revenue per user, what is the revenue per paying user. So
Hmm.
this essentially gives you the LTV part, that when people come to my game, what is it that I can expect from them in 30 days, 90 days,
Hmm.
1 year, that sort of a thing. And then the second part is the growth of the game, where you know that you need to acquire more users, because at the end of the day, even for things like multiplayer mode or live ops, a lot of them are more interesting when there are more people actually playing it. Even features like alliances, right? They do require that the game has a large number of users. And when you're talking about growth, that is where you look at organic channels or inorganic channels. Organic channels is essentially your ASO, which is App Store optimization on
Hmm.
your Play Store and App Store, where you try to change the screenshots, keywords, so that how can you start ranking for popular keywords. So, for example, if somebody types a cricket game,
Hmm.
then Hitwicket Superstar should come in the top results so that the visibility is high, right? So this is on the organic side.
Hmm.
Inorganic side is you can run ads on Facebook, Google,
Hmm.
Unity ads, Iron Source, where your ad is shown to a user and
Hmm.
then they install the game. And then you are bringing in both pieces, that what is the LTV of the game,
Hmm.
right? Sorry, what is the LTV of a user in the game, and how much am I spending to acquire this user?
Got
So your break even point is where whatever the user spends in the game is more than what you spent to acquire him.
it. So that, yeah. So just to add to that, you were talking about something like lifetime value or LTV for
Hmm.
people who don't understand the term. So over here, say I'm a new user, right? And I don't spend anything on the game in the first
Right.
90 days. And after 90 days, you add something and I spend, say, 50 rupees. The cost of acquiring me might be, say, 100, 150. How do
Hmm.
you make sure that the user at the end of the day, what are you measuring over here, first of all? Second, how do you ensure that your cost per acquired user is retained, and what is the ideal retention number that you're looking for?
Got it. So here, let's say we talk about a user like you, right?
Hmm.
And when we say a user like you, let's say it's a cohort of users, right? Let's say a lot of people fall into this bracket
Hmm.
where where they do not spend anything in the first 30 days, right? So their LTV of first 30 days is zero, right?
Hmm.
But let's say they have a tendency to spend between 30 to 60 days.
Hmm.
That is where you said you have spent 50 rupees,
Hmm.
right? And let's say from my previous data, I know that when you are in the 60 to 90 interval, you will end up spending 100. Okay, that is my previous data that shows that, this is how the behavior of this cohort of user is like, right?
Okay.
So in the 60 to 90 days, you have spent another 100 rupees, right? So in
this
your
scenario,
90 days, so in your
yep,
90-day interval, you have actually spent 150 rupees.
got it.
Okay,
So
so
what's
when
a
I,
cohort in this scenario? Sorry to interrupt. What is a cohort in this particular
okay,
scenario?
cohort is nothing, but it's like a group of users.
Okay.
So for example, let's say I say that all the users who were acquired through Facebook, they are like a cohort, right? Let's say they will, my expectation is that they might behave in a certain way. Similarly, all the users who came through organically, they are falling in that cohort, or people who came through Google are falling in that cohort. Or sometimes for simplicity, you can also say that, all the installs that I got in the month of April, they form one cohort,
Okay.
right? All the users who joined in May, they form another cohort. So it's like instead of looking at a single user, you're looking at a group of users. Okay. And then looking at that calculation. So when I look at a user like you, a single user will not make sense to me, right? I will look that, okay, 1,000 users were there. And it so happened that these 1,000 users spent very little in the first 30 days, but they actually started spending from 30 to 60 days.
Got it.
Right? So then I know that when I acquire these users also, and if I do not get any return in the first 30 days, it is okay. We will start spending from 30-day onwards. So I need not think that, these users are bad. They are not going to give me any return. So let's not target these users.
Got it. So Piyush, from a marketing team, we internally describe it like a persona, right? So say we want to, for the job portal, get some experienced developers onto the portal. What we normally describe is, okay, what is this guy's experience range ideally? Okay, what kind of jobs must he be looking for right now? How do I incentivize him to sign up on my job portal? So is that similar to what a cohort is, or is a cohort completely different?
Got it. See, so persona, I would say, is a bit defined, right? You cannot have 100 personas or 20 personas for that matter, right? So for example, even if I have to talk about, who are the kind of users that play Hitwicket Superstars, I'll be able to identify, let's say, 6 or 7 personas, saying that maybe a casual gamer or somebody who's a cricket fan who follows fantasy sports but is not essentially a mobile gamer, or a user in Australia who has high propensity to pay. He watches cricket on TV. So you can define these user personas. So they are at a very broad level. Cohort is not that you have defined a persona. Cohort, like I said, is that a single data entry may not make sense. That is where you club these users. And the criteria that you put to club them can vary. It can be multiple criteria, right? So I can just say that there is a cohort of users who downloaded the app from a 3 GB device. How is their behavior in the game?
Got it.
They could have joined in April, they could have joined in May, June, July, August. Any time interval pe they could have joined, but I just want to club them by their device and then understand their behavior.
Got it.
Similarly, I can say that, I just want to club the users who joined in April when IPL was going on. So I just want to analyze the behavior of these users. So I don't care whether he was 18 years old or whether he joined from a 3 GB device or was he an ad user. Those things don't matter. What matter to me is that he should have joined in the month of April. So my third classification in that case is the month.
Okay, so there is one specific criteria that you have to define, whereas for a persona, I define the persona first and then the criteria for it. That would basically
So, and in cohort, like I gave you a simple example.
Hmm.
I said I have put one criteria. You can put 2 criterias also.
Yep.
saying that, okay, people who downloaded on 3 GB and had Wi-Fi,
Hmm.
right? Because if somebody is using 3 GB and is on data, they may not play the game more because they might be conscious of their data usage. So
Hmm.
you can define whether it is one or two or three, but essentially it is to understand the behavior of a group of users so that you can make a meaningful interpretation rather than just saying that, okay, one user did this.
Got it. So Sai is asking which kind of games usually make it big in mobile?
Hmm.
Game showing ads or games that sell in-game items? I think the answer is pretty clear, but
Yeah,
you,
I think Sai should only answer this question for us.
what do you think? Which is the most famous multiplayer game you've heard of so far, Sai? At least the top grossing ones that you normally see. Now Sai won't answer. BGMI, okay, Supercell, okay. So since you already know the answer, why do you? Okay, now I'll frame the question. If in-game items always give you the maximum amount of money, why are people still shoving ads into their games?
Do you have an answer? You tell me.
I coming from a dev background, it's more like at least something I should get for acquiring that user, right? But shoving ads in games only makes sense in a context of, say, I know that my game design inherently doesn't necessarily have a lot of value when I add those in-game items. So for BGMI, the value is there because there are skins, there are different weapon mods, there are different maps, etc. But if I'm making a simple puzzle game, for example, what is the in-game item I can add that doesn't affect game design? That I
Right.
think would be the proposition. But if there's something you'd like to add on top, that let me know.
Yeah. So I would say that in-app purchases in any game is like a gold mine,
Hmm.
right? Because that is where people spend a lot. And
Hmm.
when we talk about games, right, it's like 5% of the users are contributing to 90% of the revenue.
Hmm.
So if you say that, Supercell did $2 billion in revenue,
Hmm.
that $2 billion is essentially coming from their 3% of the users.
Hmm.
So you can imagine that, how much each user is spending. There'll
Hmm.
be users who will be spending $500, $1,000, even $5,000 in the game. That is the infinite potential. And that is how billion-dollar successful games are made, which are built on IAPs,
Hmm.
right? And that is why it is a lot and lot of hard work, right? It's
Hmm.
not easy to make something which is fun. And at the same time, people feel that, okay, I want to spend on it, right?
Hmm.
And if you actually have to build in the monetization, then the kind of analytics you need, the tracking, the quality of the game, everything, the benchmark becomes very high, right? Because
Hmm.
suddenly, you want somebody to spend on it. So the moment somebody
Hmm.
wants to spend on it, it should be world class, right? And that I would say that, takes a lot of effort, even in tracking, like I said, right? You're not just thinking about 15
Hmm.
days or 30 days engagement. You're actually thinking that, 90 days may how much somebody will spend, how much will somebody spend in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, right?
Hmm.
So there is a very long life of a gamer that you're targeting when you're trying to sell in-game items.
Got
And
it.
in ads, may like somebody mentioned easy money, right? So it's like, okay, fine, you've made a game and you know that, okay, the user will not play my game after 20 days. And at the same time, there is nothing compelling for him to buy.
Hmm.
Then, but you at least feel that, okay, it's something I should recover
Hmm.
for what I have built in the game. Then ads serve that purpose.
Yep. So coming back over here, like you say, Akash had a question. Hyper casual games, can they be run without ads? They are a different ball game altogether, right? Hyper casual games, the maximum life of a hyper casual game itself might be like 30 to 60 days.
Yeah.
So, getting money out of that kind of user where people are just picking up and playing that game, maybe coming back to it after say 1 day playing it again, and
Hmm.
after 1 month they simply might get bored, right? So in
Got
order
it.
to get some revenue from them, ads might be the way to go. But for like core products like you were describing, like Hitwicket,
Hmm.
say Clash of Clans, etc., where you always want the users to be on the platform as long as they can,
Yes.
it makes more
Right.
sense to have in-game items.
Yeah. And you are, see, even for a spending power,
Hmm.
right? What I was telling you that, you'll have users who are spending even $1,000 or $5,000, even in Hitwicket Superstars. We
Hmm.
have seen Indian users spending 2 lakh on
Yeah.
the game, right? You'll be like, okay, some Indian user is spending 2 lakh on the game. Now, he will not spend 2 lakh in 1 week.
Hmm.
Right? He's going to spend it over 2 months, 3 months, 4 months,
Hmm.
right? That is where the actual content and building of the game is important, where you know that, okay, I have to build that content such that even somebody can play my game for a year and still feel like spending. And
Hmm.
people spend when they know that they are building something, right? In a virtual world, whether they are building a team, they are progressing, it gives them a sense of accomplishment that I'm investing. It is not even thought of as a spending, right? People think that, okay, I have invested into this game, I have invested into my team, I have invested into my players, right?
Hmm.
That's the mindset. And I would say the persona of a hyper casual user is also very different, right? I mean,
Hmm.
those are not the people who are looking at something where they want to play it for a long term or they want to make a very solid progress out of it, right? They're just looking like a quick entertainment, and they're ready to shuffle.
Hmm.
What you see with Supercell and PUBG, you can see the loyalty that the game brings in, right?
Hmm.
And again, see, the kind of emotions that are triggered by these games is very different.
Yep.
In PUBG, people feel proud, right? That I am at so and so level.
Hmm.
I bought this skin. Nobody feels guilty that they bought a skin, right? They
Hmm.
feel, no, I actually bought it. I was at this level, right? So, all those things I would say are very different for mid core games or games that, are targeting to be like a lifestyle game for a user, right? Where it's part of a user's lifestyle, where he continues playing it for months and years.
Got it. This one is an interesting question. For in-game items and unique offers, do different players get different offers? So like player one gets item one and item two, but player two gets item three and item one as an offer in the shop. He has heard Supercell does that, but do you think it's effective or not?
Yeah, a lot of games do that. And that is again based on their data analytics,
Hmm.
right? So even when they show you offers, right? A lot of times they will start with a certain price point. Let's say they'll first show you an offer for 500 rupees.
Hmm.
Let's say they showed the offer to you and they showed an offer to me.
Hmm.
When you saw the offer for 500 bucks, you thought, okay, yeah, this is a pretty good deal and I want to progress fast, and you will buy that offer.
Hmm.
Suppose I did not buy that offer. Maybe 3 days later, they'll show me the same offer and they'll say, now it is for 300 rupees,
Hmm. Yep.
right? Because what also happens is that it is easy to convert users into paying users initially in your game.
Hmm.
It is definitely a harder task to convert users into paying users after they have been in the game for a while, right?
Hmm.
Because again, when you're talking about, let's say, D7 percentage, you have a larger pool of users available. By D30 or
Hmm.
D60, you're already left with less users,
Hmm.
right? So
Got
like
it.
if
So,
you talk about top of the funnel, so your funnel is definitely broader in the initial stages. So that's
hmm.
why if you play a lot of mobile games and even games by Playrix or King, you'll see that everybody is a bit aggressive in showing offers in the first 7 days, right?
Hmm.
Where they think that what is it can we do to convert this user into a paying user. So they'll go all the way down to even 30 rupees, 20 rupees, like
Yeah,
that.
but then again plays into the psychology of, right, okay, you spend 30 rupees now, you found the value of those 30 rupees, you're more likely to spend after 1 month saying that, oh, those 30 rupees were very helpful, or I got real value out of those 30 rupees.
Yeah. And what it has done is, see, even though you spend 30 rupees, right? Somewhere you feel that, okay, now I've spent on this game,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So you're not just going to uninstall it randomly.
Yep. Yeah, that I never thought of. Like, oh, if I've spent it, I might as well get value out of it. Nice.
Oh, yeah. So that is why games, they experiment a lot. And even when it comes to virtual items, right?
Hmm.
See, it's very hard to say that this virtual item is for 500 rupees or 300 rupees,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Because at the end of the day, it's a digital thing.
Hmm.
If you're talking about a t-shirt, you know that there is a certain cost.
Hmm.
A t-shirt will never be 10 rupees. Minimum, whatever quality it is, it'll at least cost you 100 bucks or 150 bucks to get that t-shirt.
Hmm.
But in a game, what is the cost of a gem?
Yeah.
Right? The same gem you can show to a user who is in desperate need, and he'll be willing to pay 500 for it. And the same gem you show it to a user initially, where he doesn't even know the value of that gem, and he'll be like, okay, why should I spend 500? Maybe I'll just spend 10 rupees. So he'll buy that 10 rupees ka offer.
Hmm.
So that psychology and all plays a lot in games, right? The value of that item to that particular user.
Yeah. So, Akshay, I think you'd be more interested in this topic as well. What do you think of NFTs and crypto gaming's future? I know internally why it might be exciting, but could you elaborate?
Yeah, definitely. I think NFTs present a beautiful use case in gaming,
Hmm.
right? Because gaming, if you think about it, right? If you, let's say, let's not, if you remove the word NFT,
Hmm.
you are actually having these digital avatars, right? You have these characters, and everything that you have built is actually a virtual identity,
Hmm.
right? Even let's say if I take example of FIFA or a sport game, right? The team that you have built. Now,
Hmm.
each character, the player, the way you have trained, leveled up that character, it's that has a virtual identity,
Hmm.
right? Now, imagine if that character is an NFT.
Hmm.
Suddenly, it opens up an avenue where, let's say, I spent 2 months training this player, and now Manas says that, I want a strong team, but I don't want to grind for 2 months.
Hmm.
And you can take that player from me. And I'm like, I don't mind, because I like doing this, right? Training my players, taking them to a certain level. I have more free time, so I can grind,
Hmm.
right? Manas is like, no, I'm short on time. I'm not going to spend hours playing it.
Yep.
So I think that's where NFTs fit very beautifully into the gaming system, because that, I mean, they already exist in games,
Hmm.
right? It's just that, okay, now that it is an NFT, it has a very unique identity, right? Which can be traded between players. And it's an excellent avenue for people to actually get value out of their digital asset,
Hmm.
which they were anyways spending on, which they were anyways engaging with.
Yep. The proposition, I think illegally, this has been happening for a very long time behind the scenes, right? So
Yeah.
if I have like a CSGO account where everything, all the skills are
Hmm.
there, everything is maxed out,
Yes.
illegally, I was any which way selling that account over.
Selling that. Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
This basically brings in that value proposition where my name is actually stamped when someone buys that particular NFT.
Exactly. Exactly. And you have an incentive where you are not going through some, like under the carpet
Hmm.
route for it, right? It's very legit, and it's getting done.
Yep. Cool. I think we have everything we wanted to cover. I know you are excited for Web3. I won't elaborate why you are excited about it, but you'll hear more about it in the future from them. I'm pretty sure. I had a chat with our team had a chat with Kashyap as well about
Yeah.
what you were working on. So excited for what you guys are working on and looking forward to what you're building. In the meantime, guys, make sure you guys follow Hitwicket, download their game, play around, spend money on the game as well. And anything you want to add, Keerti? How was the session? Any feedback for me as well?
Yeah, I really hope this session was useful to the students. And I mean, like, I tried to cover things which I thought, like, at the end of the day, there is always a business angle to
Hmm.
everything that we do, right? The overarching goal is to make something great, right? Which people love.
Hmm.
And then there is a business aspect, which is going to make sure that something that you have built, right, is reaching the masses. That
Hmm.
is the beauty, right? Even let's say if you make a great car, you
Hmm.
want that the great car should be available in all the countries. People should be able to buy it,
Yep.
right? That's where the business side of things come into play. And yeah, that's what I tried to cover. So I hope it was a bit, I don't know, not very valuable, but I hope it added some value to the people who had come for this session.
Yeah, it is extremely valuable because as game devs, we normally tend to fall in love with our games, right? We need someone telling us that, oh, you are making this game, it's good, that's fine, but you need to make money off of it as well to sustain. So having people like you come in and share knowledge on it has been like great. I think this is the first time we've had like a business person come in and tell us about the business side of things. So thank you for that. And that's basically about it. I won't take more of your time. Thank you so much for giving us time. And I'll
You,
be in touch.
everyone, and thanks a lot for having me. And I mean, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if there is any way by which I can help anyone. I'll be more than happy to contribute to the community and give in whichever way I could. And I could just say that gaming is definitely a hard journey, right? It's like you are creating something beautiful, but it's hard,
Yep.
and that's where the risk and reward sort of a thing goes. So, but I do believe a lot in India's potential and the creative genius that is there in the country.
Hmm.
And it's awesome to see Outscale and, uh, coming up with these initiatives where it's like, somebody can think of game development as a career. I
Hmm.
remember when I was quitting Amazon, my parents were like, "Are you sure? Do you know what you're doing?"
Same.
you're you're leaving the biggest company in the world, right? And I was like, no, this is something that I want to do. So I'm sure that India is capable of actually becoming a world beater and
Hmm.
world leader in gaming, and it's great to see people coming forward and understanding that gaming is a massive billion-dollar industry. It's not just your e-commerce and delivery startups, right?
Yep.
So, so
Yep.
yeah, good luck everyone. And I wish each person the very best in their journey.
Yep. Game
Yeah.
dev scope hai. Yes, that's true. Guys, make sure you guys, like Keerti said, work hard. And maybe one day you'll end up working at Hit Wicket as well.
All right. Cool, guys. Good night, everyone.